Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Lou Canellis from Fox 32 in Chicago. Joining me this week on First and North, let's bring up the crew. The voice of the Lions, Dan Miller from Fox 2 in Detroit. From Fox 6 Milwaukee, Tim Van Voorn. Man, the legends are back. Tim and Dan. I'm excited. From Fox 9 in Minneapolis, Pierre Nugent, also in the house. All right, let's hit the NFC North standings first. Lions and Bears, 6-3. But because Detroit whacked the Bears week 2, Lions are on top. They'll meet again, last game of the season. And how about this? If the playoffs started this week, Lions would host the Bears in the wild card round. Bears came back to win again on Sunday. When will the Caleb Williams magic run out? Packers have lost 2 straight NFC home games after looking out of sorts to the Eagles last night on Monday Night Football. Vikings won at Detroit, then lose at home to Baltimore Sunday. Which is the real Vikings team? All right, let's bring back the crew. Tim Van Voorn, I know you had a busy night at Lambeau Field. I appreciate you on the show today after all your hard work last night. All kinds of rumors swirling about Matt LaFleur's job, but I want to ask first, what has happened to the Packers offense? 20 points in 2 weeks against Carolina and Philadelphia at home. And why has Jordan Love played so poorly?
Boy, you got a lot of legit questions there, Lou. It is a mess right now for this Packers offense. It's really dragging down the football team. You, as a defense, you give up 10 points against the Philadelphia Eagles. You're feeling very good about that, and you don't win the football game. There are 3 losses this season now for the Packers. The Eagles, the Browns, and the Panthers. They've scored a combined 30 points in those 3 games. I mean, the Lions, even the Bears, you guys get that in a half the way it's going right now. You have an offensive coaching staff that just can't get it together right now. Jordan Love, his numbers don't look awful, but the eye test is just not looking very good right now for the Packers. And they have fallen from this Super Bowl almost favorite or inevitability after a week or 2 of the regular season to they are a legitimate playoff bubble team right now, guys, and not trending well at all.
Man, I was one of those guys after watching the way they played defensively against Detroit to open the season. I thought the Super Bowl team was, coming out of Green Bay, one of those 2 teams. All right, I want to go around the horn before we dig deeper into the Packers' problems and specifically head coach Matt LaFleur. Pierre, good to see you again. Against Baltimore, Vikings had 8 false start penalties at home. I mean, that's alarming. Second most by a home team since the Rams did it in 2005. Bills had 9 false starts in a game back in 2009. What was the issue with all the false start penalties in their own house?
Well, it's a combination of things, Lou. It's a combination of you have a young quarterback that perhaps doesn't understand the cadence, but you also have a lot of guys on offense going into these plays. And we were talking with our Vikings analyst, Pete Bursich, former Viking linebacker, and he told me, he said, what's the first thing everybody should know when they trot onto the field outside of the play? The snap count. That's what everybody should absolutely understand and know. And if you're playing wide receiver as well, you're only looking at the ball. You can't hear your quarterback from that side of the field, so you're obviously looking at the ball. But the number of pre-snap penalties was absolutely inexcusable. We heard it from Kevin O'Connell after the game. Offensive coordinator Wes Phillips spoke about it earlier today. He said he called it a flat-out embarrassment, and it's something that was just, in his words, losing football. You can't make these kind of mistakes in games like this and expect to win the game. They were also a -3 in the turnover differential, but I mean, the penalties really have been a bugaboo for this team all season long. It continuously pops up on a weekly basis. We are now 10 going into 11 weeks of this season, and this continues to be a problem for this football team. That's an indictment on this coaching staff right now.
I understand the cadence issues with a rookie quarterback. I mean, for the most part, he's a rookie quarterback because he sat out last season. Chicago, the Bears went through the same thing with Caleb Williams at the beginning of the year, but they've cleaned up those false start penalties. Dan Campbell called the offensive play Sunday in D.C. Dan Miller, before I get your thoughts on that, I want you to listen to what Campbell had to say about the decision.
Look, don't forget, Ben, I called those games. I called whatever that was, 8 or 9 games. I don't remember what it was in 21. While he helped me, but he watched, he learned. You know, he saw how I ran it, how I wanted to run it, what I was looking for, and then it evolved. You know, he evolved it from there. He took it, he knew exactly what I wanted, and, you know, by the middle of 22, I didn't have to say a word. I mean, he was, and so that's kind of where John is right now. That's all. You know, it's good, and you know, sometimes that's the best way to really know what somebody's looking for is just going through that.
Dan, is he just trying to get on the same page with John Morton right now?
I think there's some of that, but I think this is also a really difficult situation for him. He doesn't want this thing to land like an anvil on top of John Morton's head, but it's tough for it not to. So his point there was, look, before Ben Johnson took over, he had a chance to watch me call the plays because Dan Campbell took it over in 2021 from Anthony Lynn. And he's saying Ben Johnson got to watch me. So by the time he got the headset and he was talking to the quarterback, he knew exactly how I like to have things done. And I think what Dan Campbell is saying there is now John Morton's going to get that same opportunity to watch Dan Campbell, see how it's done. Now, whether or not that leads back to John Morton ever calling the plays for the Lions again, we don't know whether or not that's going to happen. But I think that's what he was trying to say was there's a chance that, you know, by watching Dan Campbell, he'll get a better understanding of this offense, of the way he wants it done, and maybe he gets it back at some point. But look, these are tough questions to answer because he cares about John Morton. John Morton has given this organization everything he's had into this year, and he doesn't want this thing to become an indictment on him where he did a horrible job and that it's a reflection of John Morton standing within the organization. He's trying to soften the blow.
By the way, his players made him look good, didn't they?
Oh, listen, they needed that bounce-back game in a big way. They were not happy with the way that they played against Minnesota. That was, by most accounts, the worst game that they had played since they had gotten good under Dan Campbell, if that's appropriate English there. But it was offense, it was defense, it was special teams, so they needed a bounce back on defense and special teams, too, against Washington. But that offense, you had kind of felt like it was just not clicking since the Kansas City game, since the Tampa game, since the Minnesota game. Even though they were second in the league in scoring, they felt like they were just leaving so much out on the field. So Dan Campbell wanted to make sure he could maximize that thing as best as he could. He felt like him calling the plays might do that. And lo and behold, in that first game against Washington, it did. But let's throw a disclaimer in there. Washington stinks. They are just bad right now defensively. You got Philadelphia coming up this week, which will be a much more significant test of Dan Campbell and this offense and how far back they've come.
Yeah, that Detroit offense, 546 total yards of offense. Didn't punt in the game, no turnovers, scored on every possession. That's pretty darn good. I'll jump in a second about Ben Johnson and the Bears and play calling, but I want to keep it right here with Pierre. Hey, Pierre, Kevin O'Connell is calling the plays in Minnesota, right? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, that's correct, Lou.
All right. Vikings have Aaron Jones. They trade for Jordan Mason. They rebuild their offensive line, and they're only averaging 18 runs a game. They threw it 42 times last week. Why aren't they running the football more?
That's a great question. I think that's a question we here in the media have been asking ourselves because especially when you look past at this game against Baltimore just the other day, you had Aaron Jones averaging over 5 yards a carry. Jordan Mason was averaging over 6 yards a carry, albeit he only had 4 carries in the game. But it leaves us scratching our heads a little bit as to why they don't lean on a run game a little bit more, especially when you have a young quarterback. And it's not a matter of they can't run the football. Earlier in the season, they were struggling running the football with just Jordan Mason. But with Aaron Jones back in the lineup, this team has been better over the last couple of weeks running the football. And they had success running the football against Baltimore. And there was a situation, a 3rd and 1, in the middle of the game, I believe it was early in the third quarter, 3rd and 1 from out past midfield, where they decided to take a shot deep to Justin Jefferson. And I don't blame Kevin O'Connell for wanting to take a shot when you have arguably the best wide receiver in football in a one-on-one matchup. I understand that you want to take a shot there, but you had been running the ball successfully for the majority of the game. You only need a yard. Now, after the game, he would admit that he thought it was 4-down territory, and if the pass fell incomplete, they were still going to turn around and run another play on 4th down. They had planned to go for it. But I'm thinking to myself, why not simplify the game a little bit more for your young quarterback? That play resulted in disaster with McCarthy throwing an interception deep down the field, and the Vikings came away with nothing. So we don't really understand why there isn't more of a commitment to the run game here because you have have two quality backs in Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. It's leaving us all scratching our heads.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Tim, let me bring you back. Give me a minute on this, because Josh Jacobs, after the game last night, said that the Eagles knew the inside zone play on that critical 4th and 1 at the end of the game. They knew it was coming, actually called it out loud at the line of scrimmage. How did this happen?
Yeah, a live mic picked it up. You could hear it on the broadcast. I was standing there with Josh as he explained it to us. He said that alters you as a runner then. You know they have the play. So now are you going to still run that play if you know they're going to defend it? Or are you going to try to adjust off that? Are you going to hope that maybe something else opens the other way? He said it really plays on your mind as a running back, particularly with the stakes that were involved with that play at that point in the game. So it's very concerning. There's talk about, Matt LaFleur giving up the play calling. He's another head coach who calls the plays. But unless some other voice is going to say, hey, guys, let's get lined up correctly. Hey, guys, let's block someone on the middle of the offensive line. It's not going to make any difference, in my opinion, who's calling the plays. Right now, it's execution for the Packers. And if the other team knows your plays, obviously there's a predictability error there as well.
All right, let me get into Ben Johnson now, because I questioned some of Ben Johnson's play calling on Sunday. He admitted yesterday that there are a number of calls that he probably wants back from that game. Johnson's been critical of his play calling a few times this season. Against the Giants specifically, he didn't like what his third down plan was. Makes sense. Bears were 3 for 11 on third down. And I thought Johnson would have run the football more than he did, especially in the first half. New York had the second worst run defense in football. Bears had just run for 283 against Cincinnati. The rookie Kyle Monangai ran for 176 yards in that game. DeAndre Swift was back after missing that Bengals game. And what do the Bears do? They throw the football 18 times in the first half, and they ran it just 12 times. And Colston Loveland was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week, put up career highs in Cincinnati, had the game-winning touchdown. Against the Giants, Bears didn't throw to the tight end till the third quarter. Yeah, and Ben Johnson was bailed out by Caleb Williams. Williams continues to be one of the more clutch players in the NFL, tied for the most fourth-quarter comebacks since last season and the most game-winning drives since he did it against the Packers in Week 18 last year as well. The guy shines in the fourth. Ben Johnson said last week, don't let this Bears team hang around in the fourth quarter or else.
Hell yeah! Man, I tell you what, I feel like I'm on repeat each and every week right now. I mean, I got nothing new to say to you guys. Did you even waver for a second? You knew exactly we had them right where we wanted them. Gosh, man. Goodness gracious. Hell of a job. Took all 60 minutes. This next guy, man, he's got ice in his veins now. And if you don't believe it now, you just wait, man. The best is yet to come, 18. Here we go.
Yeah, I've been calling for the Bears to win a game because of Caleb Williams, and the guys come through the last two Sundays at Cincinnati and then against the Giants. All right, we need to take a time out here. Great first segment. Coming up, is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat? We will get into it with Tim. We'll hear from the coach as well, and we'll go around the division to get injury updates next right here on First and North.
The Bears on the road for an NFC North showdown. Bears, Vikings, Sunday at noon on Fox 32 Chicago.
All right, welcome back to First and North. Lou Canellis at our Fox 32 studios in Chicago. Dan Miller is at Fox in Detroit. There's Tim Van Vooren, Fox Milwaukee. Pierre Nugent, Fox Minneapolis. NFC North up for grabs right now. Lions and Packers. They switched spots at the top. Bears haven't been ahead of Green Bay this late in the season in 7 years. And how about this? If the playoffs started this week, I said this at the top of the show. The Lions would host the Bears in the wild card round. Green Bay would play in Seattle, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would host the Rams in Tampa. Tim, let me start with you. Packers have battled injuries on the offensive line all season long, but they were finally at full strength heading into Monday's game, and then Elgton Jenkins suffers a fractured lower leg. Has this guy played his last game in Green Bay?
I think there's a distinct possibility that that is true. Elton Jenkins has been a real soldier for the Packers the last several seasons. The transition to center this year, he had previously been a guard, has not gone that well. He's coming up on his contract will be expiring in a position where the Packers can get some money back on that. The line hasn't played well. The center play has not been very strong, and then he goes down with an injury. So that doesn't portend well for another extended Elton Jenkins time here in Green Bay.
All right, Pierre, Vikings, Jonathan Grenard left that Ravens game with a bad shoulder, didn't come back. For all the Chicago fans, for all those Bears fans watching right now, they'd like to hear you say he won't be playing against the Bears. Will he?
You know I love the fine city of Chicago, Lou. You know I love Chicago, but I can't provide any good news for them as of right now. According to head coach Kevin O'Connell, he sounded optimistic that Jonathan Grenard would be able to play on Sunday. They still don't know that for sure yet. They're going to have to wait until Wednesday for that first injury report to come out. But he had the same tone in his voice about Jonathan Grenard than he did a couple of weeks ago about Aaron Jones when he sounded optimistic that Jones would come back from injury and play. He did come back and play in that game, and I know we're still human beings. We're not whales, so I'm not going to go by tones and sound. But he does sound optimistic that Jonathan Grenard will come back and play on Sunday.
All right. Lions offensive line, Dan, was terrific, man, against the Commanders, but suffered more injuries. What's the latest on Penei Sewell, Graham Glasgow, also Terry and Arnold? I know he's not on the offensive line. He's a defensive back, but anyone else banged up? Give us the update on the injury situation for the Lions.
Yeah, start with TA. He's in concussion protocol, so we just don't know what the situation with him is going to be and how quickly he can get cleared and whether or not he's going to be back this week for a game in Philadelphia. Kirby Joseph, another one, missed the game. He's been out with a knee injury. Don't know if he's going to return to practice this week and if he might be ready for Philadelphia. I think the offensive line is going to be okay. We'll know more when they get back to practice tomorrow and we see how many of these guys are out there. But that might not even be a great indicator because last week they started practice with both Sewell and Decker sitting out. The good news is Glasgow came back in the game after being taken out for an injury, and Sewell came back in the game after being taken out for an injury. So that tells you that at least they were cleared to play again this past Sunday in the game in Washington. The two guards made it through. Awosika, who was in there for Christian Mahogany, and then also Tate Ratledge. So hopefully Taylor Decker, who's been an ongoing question, will be okay. So, Lou, it's a long way of saying on the offensive line, I think they're good, but each week this year we've had to kind of wait and see because they have had some issues there.
Well, they'll need Sewell and Glasgow against Philadelphia, that's for sure, Sunday night. Bears played without linebacker T.J. Edwards, big loss. He wasn't at full strength against the Bengals either. Kyler Gordon's eligible to return to Week 12 at home against the Steelers. We hope to learn more tomorrow at practice when the injury report comes out, so nothing for sure yet. But soft tissue injuries really have been a problem for Gordon this year and last year. Thankfully, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a guy who, couldn't stick with a team. Bears are his fourth team since March. He's really fit in nicely. Jalen Johnson still out, but posting videos of his rehab, and who knows, maybe comes back in December in time when the Bears and Packers play twice in 3 weeks. Dominique Robinson could return this week. He would help on the defensive line, give that D-line some depth. They still need to put more pressure on the quarterback, but Austin Booker has done a nice job in his return. We'll find out, as I said, more tomorrow when the first injury report comes out. All right, Tim, I saved the best for last. Rumors swirling around Green Bay after last night's loss, and after the game, Matt LaFleur was asked this.
I understand you guys are 5-3-1, still have a playoff spot right now, and you're going to say you're always coaching for your job, but you don't have a long-term extension. With the way things have gone this season, do you think you're coaching for your job?
I'm not. I'll leave that for everybody else to decide. I'll just focus on the day-to-day and trying to do. I feel like you're always coaching for everything in this league. You know, that's just my mindset. It's always been that way. You know, you can't ever exhale. You got to always be pushing, and that's just my mindset. So. And that will be my mindset until they tell me not to coach anymore.
All right, Tim, take it from here. Ed Policy takes over as president of the Packers back in July, refuses to give LaFleur a contract extension before or during this season, but will decide LaFleur's future with the Packers before next season, the last in his contract. Policy himself said that he does not want He wants to avoid a lame duck situation with his head coach. This team made the big trade for Micah Parsons. LaFleur's been given everything he needs to win. Is this guy coaching for his job these last 8 games?
I think unequivocally yes, and that doesn't mean he can't keep his job. He is coming up with 1 year left on the contract, as you point out, Lou. So is General Manager Brian Gutekunst. So Ed Policy, who may be new in the position but has been in the NFL and around football his entire life, his father, Carmen Policy. Ed Policy knows, how to make decisions, what the consequences are if you make big decisions. Coming into Monday night's game, guys, the active leader in win percentage for a coach in the NFL, Nick Sirianni of the Eagles. That makes a lot of sense. Jim Harbaugh second, Matt LaFleur third. Matt LaFleur has won an incredible amount of football games as the Green Bay Packers head coach. The evolution of the offense is not what we see right now. He's the offensive genius on this side. He's the offensive brain power for the Packers. He's coming into a situation where the quarterback does not seem to be ascending right now. The offense has not scored in 3 games, as we talked about earlier in this show. Obviously, that's all going to reflect on the head coach and his background. So, yes, in answer to your question, Lou, he's very much coaching for his job. And his answer is what any coach would get. Yeah, we're evaluated all the time. Okay, it's a little different right now. This second half of the season, I called last night's game a crossroads game. I truly believe that it is. And now very much the second half of the season, guys are on notice. And I think Gutekunst is in line for an extension. LaFleur, not nearly so clear.
All right, thanks for laying it out for us. We need to take our final time out. We set up next week's schedule next here on First and North.
It's Bears.
What a day for football.
It's game day.
No better way to start off the season than right here at the Walter Duck.
It's live.
To be out here with the Bears fans, they are ready.
Bears game day live, Sunday at 9:30 on Fox Chicago.
Matchups for Week 11 in the NFC North. Sunday, Bears on the road at Minnesota. Bears have lost 8 of their last 9 games against the Vikings. Packers head east to take on the Giants, who just fired their head coach, Brian Daboll. Primetime Sunday Night Football. Battle for the top spot in the NFC. Lions head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. I will be watching. Dan, Lions don't lose in prime time. 13-3 under Dan Campbell. But this one's a tough one in Philly, isn't it?
Yeah, everywhere you look, there's going to be something that will really test this team. It's the kind of game that you love to have at this time of the season because it's going to tell you a lot about who you are and where you are. Look, quarterback can run, quarterback can throw. You got Saquon Barkley, you got to deal with him. You got great receivers on the outside, you got to deal with them. So there's going to be a massive test for the defense in this game. Offensively, that defensive line is rolling right now for Philadelphia, so you're going to be able to handle that. And then you have to be able to run the football, which is the bread and butter of the Lions' attack that sets everything up that they do. So Dan Campbell's play calling, this offense, which was seen rejuvenated against Washington, will be tested as well. So, look, love it. Embrace it. This is 2 of the best teams in the NFL playing on Sunday night, the only game in town. It's going to be fun.
Pierre, I'm going to jump to you. I wanted to ask you this question. Justin Jefferson, J.J. McCarthy, are they on the same page for this game Sunday against the Bears?
Well, the Vikings better hope they're on the same page, and even though they haven't been able to establish all the best of rhythms in the games that McCarthy has played, they're absolutely going to need to be on the same page because this Vikings offense is going to need to score and score often to try to keep up with this Bears offense, and that is something that they still are trying to work through, Lou. I mean, the rhythm and timing is not there at times. They're going to have to work through that if they want to win this game on Sunday.
Tim, Giants on the schedule couldn't come at a better time for the Pack, right?
They've thought that with some other opponents so far this season, Lou. And last time they were in New York, they lost to Tommy DeVito, so nothing's a lock.
All right, Bears 0-2 in the division. They can't drop to 0-3. And I think that Week 1 loss still on their minds because that game may haunt them down the road when it comes to getting into the playoffs. Great work, guys. Good to see everyone. Tim, Dan, Pierre. I'll see you next week. I'm Lou Canellis. Thanks for watching First and North.